Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the assembled devotees of the Hare Krishna Society, Prabhupada Disciples Association. Of course, we're defined by our relationship with our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is our link to the disciplic succession and to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this relationship is the foundation of our Prabhupada Disciples Association. We're all his disciples. And I was writing a note on the Facebook PDA page that this is a relationship based on sound vibration. So a lot of people ignore that principle. Somehow they minimize it. Vani incarnation. And we all know that yoga, bhakti yoga, is based on hearing and chanting from the bona fide sources, the bona fide spiritual master. And that the sound of the spiritual master and the carrying out of his instructions are the key to success in spiritual life for the sincere practitioner. And the fact of the matter is that most people never really, even when Prabhupada was personally with us, hardly ever got any chance to personally associate with him, but they did hear his instructions and in this way followed them and stayed connected to him in the Vani incarnation. And Prabhupada talked about that. You showed Anandana to Prabhu in a lecture. I don't know if it was you that sent it to me, because you sent so many things out to everyone. Thank you very much, by the way. Very appreciative. But the point is this, that Prabhupada was talking about the relationship between a disciple and his guru, namely the disciples that he had accepted as guru. And he was saying that that connection is only there if you follow the principles. If you don't follow the principles, where's the connection? Is it automatic that you just become Krishna conscious because you got an initiation? If you don't follow the process of Krishna consciousness, according to Prabhupada's instructions, is he still responsible? The question was asked, will the person be saved, liberated by that initiation? he explained, how can they be saved if they don't follow my instructions? Simple. If you don't follow the instructions of the spiritual master, then the relationship is not there. It's all based on carrying out the order of the spiritual master according to his direction. Then the relationship is there. Vani incarnation. And that is what we're trying to explain to people in our process of preaching, that you have to submit yourself, surrender to the mission of Srila Prabhupada as he presented it to all of us throughout his time with us up to 1977, November 14th. So the mission, the instructions are the essence of the relationship between the spiritual master and his disciples. And it's very important that we study carefully his instructions. And there's so much. It's like an encyclopedia of information. And we can't just specifically take one particular instance and say, oh, this Prabhupada wanted this for everyone for all time. There's a very large body of information that we have to study, and in association with Prabhupada God brothers, get the proper understanding of what Prabhupada was trying to explain to us in these instructions. For example, I'll give you an example, Krishna Katha. I was dealing with a fellow who is a god brother of mine, in the sense that I used to see him in India on an ongoing basis when I went to the festivals in the 70s, from 73 to 77. And his name is Bhagavat Das. Bhagavat Das, oh yeah. And he's a likable person. He's a, kind of a jolly, big man, let's say, very big. And I told him about the letter that Prabhupada sent to me in regards to the association with the Gaudiya Math. Okay. And I've told the story before. Well, in the letter, Prabhupada said specifically to me, and you can look it up, everyone, online if you want. And you'll see the letter to Vishwakarma from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, where he says, do not associate, I'm giving you this instruction, do not associate any of my disciples with the members of the Gaudiya Math. And then Bhagavat says to me, oh, that doesn't apply to me. Huh? Like, you read it in black and white. It's right there in the letter. To all my disciples, do not associate with the members of the Gaudiya Math, my god brothers. And he goes, oh no, it doesn't include me. Okay. So people they don't even cherry pick the quote. They misinterpret it. They distort it in order to justify their deviation, like he is going with the Gaudiya Math now. I told him that. He hung up on me. Oh, that's it. I can't associate with you. I said, good. I can't associate with you. Because people that ignore or disobey the order of the spiritual master or twist it, people that twist the meaning and misunderstand it for their own personal purposes should be ignored by us, because they're of no value to us. And the relationship that they think they're enjoying with the spiritual master has been contaminated by their own personal purposes. This is a science. It's a very subtle science. And it takes not only careful study, but some common sense to understand what Prabhupada was trying to teach us in terms of the sustenance or the maintenance of this society through his instructions. Yes. And for those that don't understand, they just have to listen. This is the problem, Yashodanandana Prabhu, that you can encounter with people. They won't listen. For whatever reason, they think they're 100% right when they're 100% wrong. And they've never been to the circus before. What is the circus? This ISKCON circus that they created. You've never been to the circus, but you think, oh, this is the way the circus is. Well, there's a lot to learn. And, you know, the advantage that we have with our group is that a lot of us collectively have a lot of experience, as we've been discussing in the last few weeks, in regards to the ISKCON group and to regards to this mission. And we're helping each other to move forward progressively on the path back home, back to Godhead. Cooperation. Those people that don't cooperate, there's a reason, because they are independent in their attitude, in their false ego, and in their approach to a process that is based on association with devotees and carefully hearing and chanting with them to understand, if they have confusion, what is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so we'll move forward here. We've got some big sections here. The purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement. And so this particular section is a very interesting section. And for those who have not read this before, pay close attention. And we'll read it in two sections. So Prabhupada is in the month of July, and he is at the 26 Second Avenue Matchless Gift Store. And he's been preparing to launch the mission of Lord Chaitanya through ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And today we're going to read the first draft of the Constitution, so all of you can hear the purposes of the Constitution from him directly and get an understanding of what we're doing, or should be doing. So it's a certificate of incorporation. Here's the first page. And it's pursuant to the Religious Corporations Law of the State of New York. It's a certificate of incorporation for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We, the undersigned, for the purpose of forming a corporation pursuant to the Religious Corporation Law of the State of New York, do hereby subscribe and acknowledge this certificate as follows. First, the name of the corporation shall be International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Inc., I-N-C. Second, the purposes for which the corporation is organized are one, and these are very famous here. A, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values of life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. B, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. I want to make a comment here. These purposes were written by Srila Prabhupada, not by the people that he enlisted to become his board of directors. These are written specifically by Prabhupada, and they define the purposes. C, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Krishna, of Godhead Krishna. D, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And E, to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. Very comprehensive. F, to bring the members closer together for the purpose, there we go, up, for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. And G, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purpose, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. Third, the incorporation will have the power, either directly or indirectly, either alone or in conjunction or cooperation with others, to do any and all lawful acts and things, and to engage in any and all lawful activities which may be necessary, useful, suitable, desirable, or proper for the furtherance, accomplishment, fostering, or attainment of any or all of the purposes which the corporation is organized, and to aid, to assist other organizations whose activities are such as to further, accomplish, foster, or attain any of such purposes. That's very interesting here. Now, Prabhupada's obviously put this in to these standard forms for this particular section, or proper for the further accomplishment of for which this corporation is organized, and to aid or assist other organizations whose activities are such as to further accomplish, foster, or attain such purposes. So further assist other organizations, notwithstanding anything herein to the contrary, the corporation shall exercise only such powers as are in the furtherance of the exempt purposes of organizations set forth in Section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code and in its regulations as the same now exist, or in any other, or as they may be hereafter amended from time to time. Fourth, the corporation is not organized for profit, and no part of the net earnings or of the corporation shall inure to the benefit of any private shareholder or individual. Interesting. No private bank accounts. No. In the event of the liquidation or dissolution of the corporation, were voluntary or involuntary, no member shall be entitled to any distribution or division of its remaining property or its proceeds, and the balance of all money and other property received by the corporation from any source after the payment of all debts and obligations of the corporation shall be used or distributed subject to the order of the Supreme Court of the State of New York as provided by law exclusively for purposes within those set forth in Article 2nd of the certificate and with the intendment of Section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code of 1954 and its regulations as the same now exist or as they may be hereafter amended from time to time. And we'll finish up this 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th. The operations of the corporation are to be conducted principally within the state of New York. 6th, the principal place of worship of this society is intended to be located at number 26 Second Avenue in the city, county, and state of New York. 7th, the number of trustees in the society shall be 9. And 8th, the names and addresses of the trustees until the first annual meeting of the corporation are as follows: Michael Grant, Jan Oslin, James S. Green. The names and addresses of the trustees until the second annual meeting of the corporation are as followed. And we'll keep reading this. We'll read forward at our next session and complete the corporation. So some details, something we should all carefully study and understand. There's some legal terms here, but within it, it gives an insight in how we should conduct ourselves right from the beginning in terms of our mission, the mission of Srila Prabhupada, which is defined in these purposes. And we're moving ahead with that, as you know, where we have a campaign, and we'll discuss it at the end of the program today, to reprint the original Srimad Bhagavatams, Krishna Katha, the Delhi versions, the glorious Delhi versions from 62, 64, and 65. And we're going to call upon everybody in our group and people from around the world to help us raise the money for the printing of these books. Yes. And it is a very, very auspicious opportunity for everyone here to take advantage of this service and donate whatever you can, whatever it's possible, for this particular mission we've undertaken to expand our preaching work and save Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness movement from complete destruction due to the whimsical behavior of so many other people that so-called took it over and changed everything, including his books. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, here to save the day for humanity moving into the future. Hari Bol. All glories to Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Yamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Muspa Paramangsa Paribhrajagacharya Sitaresvara Smadhati Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnavindra Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Mok Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giri Godhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam Narayanam namaskrityam Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat Tato jayam udirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. As we do every week, we will read a few selected verses from the Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 1 from text 18-22, which explains the meaning and benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Next text, text 19. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke Karya Chenayatma Sat 18 Era Charana Vandan Tere Morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text 20. Grantiraram Bikarya Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text number 21. Tinera smaranayai vigna vinashana anayasayai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Se mangala charanai trivida prakar Vastunirdesha Shirabada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. So this is very important, this reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, because this literature is considered the topmost literature in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It explains the unique position of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with so many historical descriptions which were not contained in the Chaitanya Bhagavata by Vrindavan Das Thakur and other exalted literature. So this is a very important book. Prabhupada wrote that book specifically for his disciples so that they could absorb themselves. It is considered the postgraduate study of spiritual life. Very, very important. So this week we will be reading from chapter Adi Lila, chapter 4. Venkat, what is the verse number? Venkat.
Yeah, it's
Text number
222.
222. Excellent. Thank you. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Vrajendra Kumar Rasamaya Murti Krishna Sakshat Sringar Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Vrajendra Kumar, the child of King Nanda, Rasamaya, consisting of mellows, Murti, the form, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Sakshat, directly, Sringar, amorous love. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna, Vrajendra Kumar. The embodiment of rasas is amorous love personified. Text 223. Se rasa svadite koila avatar, anusange koila sabara sera prachar. Say that rasa mellow, asvadite to taste, koila made, avatara incarnation, anusange as a secondary motive, koila did, Sabha all, rasera of mellows, prachara broadcasting. Translation: He made his appearance to taste that conjugal mellow and incidentally to broadcast all the rasas. Text 224. Vishvesham anuranjanena jayanyamanandamindivara Srini Shyamala Kumare Rupanayam Nangera Nangotsavam Swachandam Brajasundari Birabitaha Pratyangamalinggitaha Sringaraha Sakimurtiman Ivamadhu Mugdoharihi Kridati. Vishvesham, of all the gopis, Anuranjanena, by the act of pleasing, Janayan, producing, Anandam, the bliss, Indivarashreni, like a row of blue lotuses, Shyamala, bluish black, Komalaihi, and soft, Upanayan, bringing, Angai, with his limbs, Ananga Utsavam, a festival for Cupid, Svachandam, without restriction, Vrajasundaribihi, but the young women of Vraja, Abhitaha, on both sides, Pratyangam, each limb, Alingitaha, embraced, Sringaraha, amorous love, Saki, O friend, Murtiman embodied, Eva like, Madho in the springtime, Mugdaha perplexed, Harihi, Lord Hari, Kridati plays. Translation. My dear friends, just see how Sri Krishna is enjoying the season of spring. With the gopis embracing each of his limbs, he is like amorous love personified. With his transcendental pastimes, he enlivens all the gopis in the entire creation. With his soft bluish black arms and legs, which resemble blue lotus flowers, he has created a festival for Cupid. Purport. This is a verse from the Gita Govinda 1:11. Text 225. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Rasera Sodan Ashesha Vishisha Kwaila Rasa Asvadan. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rasera of mellows, Sadhana the residence, Ashesha Vileshe, unlimited varieties of enjoyment, Kwaila did, Rasa mellow, Asvadana tasting. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is the abode of rasa. He himself tasted the sweetness of rasa in endless ways. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Kadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham Adadana Srinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaham Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Preshtashat Karomi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In this section of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that Krishna Das Kaviraj is continuing his detailed analysis of Lord Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his ecstatic symptoms of love of Krishna, and his description of the position of the gopis and her relationship with Krishna. Many persons, when they look at Vaishnavism or Chaitanya Vaishnavism, have a difficulty understanding the main point of this transcendental religion or cult, spiritual cult. Many persons misunderstand it to be some kind of sex religion or sex cult. That is because they're not hearing from a realized, authorized acharya. It is described in the Chandogya Upanishad, Acharyavan Purusho Veda, that one who has taken lessons and instructions from a bona fide acharya, he will understand the true meaning of the Vedas, of the scriptures. It is not simply an academic study, but it is by submissive hearing from a fully realized, fully liberated, fully cognizant acharya who is beyond the four defects of material existence. Now, this can be a little difficult to understand for a conditioned soul or neophytes, because they will think, well, everybody makes mistakes. How can anybody be free of mistakes? How can anybody be like this? What are you saying? What is this idea? This idea comes from the authorized Shastra, from the authorized scriptures. That is why the transcendental tradition of the Vaishnava Sampradayas is carried on by following these great authorities. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna describes Acharya Upasanam Saucham, that one has to worship, one has to surrender to the bona fide acharya. Now, the problem we have in Kali Yuga, and this is described by Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatan Goswami in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Srila Prabhupada a few times quoted a very important verse. This is from the Padma Purana. This is a conversation between Lord Shiva and his good wife Parvati. He explains, Guravo Bahavo Shanti, Shishya Vittapahara Kaha. There are many gurus, Bahavo, many gurus who are very expert to take the money away, take the wealth away from the disciple. Shishya Vitta means the wealth of the disciple. Durlabha Sadgurur Devi, Shishya Santapaharakaha. But it's very rare to find a bona fide, authorized Vaishnavacharya who will take the Shantapa, the miseries of the disciple. Now, what does that mean? Well, Prabhupada explains nicely in many times in his books, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. There are many persons who are pretending and posing as so-called gurus, so-called acharyas. Just like there is one purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Prabhupada explains that acharyas in Kali Yuga are very expert to exploit the wealth of the disciple. This is not the idea. This is not the purpose of acting as acharya. The whole idea of acting as acharya is to bring people to Lord Krishna. We do know from the writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he gave elaborate instruction in his teachings, in his explanations of how to practice devotional service. It's quite significant from a historical perspective that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a great scholar in Sanskrit, Bengali, English, Urdu, he knew like 4 or 5 languages, that he was the first acharya since Lord Chaitanya that preached in the English language. None of all the other acharyas, they either preached in Sanskrit or Bengali. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur took the science of Krishna consciousness, the science of bhakti as explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and brought it to an entire different level, because he was very educated. He was a magistrate, he was a judge, and he was dealing with all kinds of educated people in Calcutta, mixing up with many different groups. So he wrote the life of Lord Chaitanya and sent it to McGill University in 1896, which incidentally is also the birth year of our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the first one who started the publication of literatures. He never put too much attention on who was going to be the successor guru, who's going to be the Diksha guru, who was going to be the next zonal guru, all of these nonsense. No. His main approach was publish literatures and preach. And then he conveyed that same mentality, infused that same mentality with his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who also took up the preaching of Krishna consciousness, both in Bengali, Sanskrit, and English, and gave the Lord Chaitanya movement a very big push. Again, it's to be noted, there is no record anywhere of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada appointing a single successor or a group of successors. Prabhupada has explained this many times, and he lamented that the whole momentum, the whole powerful mission of Bhaktisiddhanta was thwarted, was adversely affected by this disease of everybody wanting to become acharya, wanting to be the big boss. Prabhupada refers in his purports of Chaitanya Charitamrita to certain individual and one individual who tried to become a high court acharya by the decision of some high court. Prabhupada mentions a real Vaishnava acharya is self-effulgent, and there's no need of any high court judgment. Why are we speaking of this? Because we see the same tendency of neophytes or sahajias posing as acharyas who are using the courts to harass Vaishnavas, to harass devotees. Krishna consciousness cannot be spread by this kind of nonsensical behavior. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used the modern press, what Prabhupada used to call Briyat Mridanga. We all know there's many references to Srila Prabhupada explaining that the musical instrument, the mridanga, the drum, you can hear it for a few blocks. But the Briyat Mridanga, the press, can be heard all around the world. This was the preaching method. And why are we doing this? We're doing this, I mean, we keep repeating this point about preserving the legacy, the integrity of Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Because what happens when you start changing, not only is it disrespectful to the Acharya who has written this, it's like it transgresses the fundamental rule of Vaishnavism, that you never change the words of the Acharya. This is unheard of. I have spent quite a bit of time in South India. And basically, with the Ramanuja and Madhva Sampradaya, they have a principle that you can never touch, never change the Sanskrit writing of these great acharyas like Madhvacharya, Jayatirtha, Vyasatirtha, Raghavendra Swami. They have hundreds of acharyas. The whole Sampradaya is dedicated to fighting Mayavadis and impersonalism. Same thing with the Ramanujas. I had an experience one time where the chief priest of the Sri Rangam temple, Rangaraj Bhatta, took us to see the deity of Lord Ranganath and explaining us the story of Vibhishana, the brother of Ravana, had taken the deity to bring it all the way to Sri Lanka. But the only stipulation is you cannot take it down. You have to carry it all the way to Sri Lanka. So at one point, some way or other, he had to use the bathroom, and he put the deity down, and the deity did not move. The deity stayed there in that same spot in Sri Rangam. So they've had many great acharyas following Ramanuja, and one such acharya was named Vedanta Deshika, who basically, because there was a lot of challenges from the Mayavadis, from the impersonalists after the departure of Ramanuja, and it was constant. So this Vedanta Deshika, who was based in Kanchipuram in northern Tamil Nadu, came down to Sri Rangam and he was arguing, defeating the Mayavadis. And his writings are very famous in that sampradaya, very, very detailed. He is the author of that famous book, Mayavada Shatadushani, 108 Faults of the Mayavadi Philosophy. So this priest, Venkat Raja, Rangaraj Bhattar, took us to see the temple, and he pointed out in some of the columns, some of the writings of Vedanta Desika that was on copper plates, brass plates, covering some of the columns. And at one point I asked him, I says, anybody ever tried to change this, like change the writing or adjust the Sanskrit? And he blocked his ears. He says, oh no, no one can touch. No one can touch. Because the understanding is that these great acharyas are not ordinary men. They're not conditioned souls subject to the defects of material existence. And this is a very important point, because we see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, Krishnadas Kaviraj at one point, let me find the quote exactly, that he mentions that great personalities like Vyasadeva are not subject to the frailties of conditioned souls. These 4 defects of conditioned souls. I'm finding the verse here so we can read and discuss this. And this is extremely important, because there seems to be a misunderstanding sometime when some devotees or scholars trying to analyze the behavior in various statements of Srila Prabhupada. But how do we understand the position of such persons like Srila Prabhupada? Because persons may say, well, sometime he mixed up Sanskrit verses, sometime he missed a line in a Sanskrit verse, or sometime he may have fallen asleep. So this is very important. We are reading here from Chaitanya Charitamrita, trying to find Adi Lila, I believe it's chapter 2, text 86. It says, Brahm Pramada Vipralipsa Karana Patava Arsha Vignya Vakye Nahi Dosha Esava. Mistakes, illusions, cheating, and defective perception do not occur in the sayings of the authoritative sages. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam has listed the avatars, the plenary expansions of the Purusha, and Lord Krishna appears among them. But the Bhagavatam further explains Lord Krishna's specific position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, reason and argument establish that his position is always supreme. Had Krishna been a plenary expansion of Narayana, the original verse would have been differently composed. Indeed, its order would have been reversed. But there cannot be mistakes, illusion, cheating, or imperfect perception in the words of liberated sages. Therefore, there is no mistake in this statement that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Sanskrit statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are all transcendental sounds. Srila Vyasadeva revealed these statements after perfect realization, and therefore they are perfect, for liberated sages like Vyasadeva never commit errors in their rhetorical arrangements. Unless one accepts this fact, there is no use in trying to obtain help from the revealed scriptures. Brahm refers to false knowledge or mistakes, such as accepting a rope as a snake or an oyster shell as gold. Pramada refers to inattention or misunderstanding of reality. And Vipralipsa is the cheating propensity. Karanapatava refers to imperfectness of the material senses. There are many examples of such imperfection. The eyes cannot see that which is very distant or very small. One cannot even see his own eyelid, which is the closest thing to his eye. And if one is disturbed by a disease like jaundice, he sees everything to be yellow. Similarly, the ears cannot hear distant sounds. Since the personality of Godhead and his plenary portions and self-realized devotees are all transcendently situated, they cannot be misled by such deficiencies. So this is a very important purport. Prabhupada explains, liberated sages like Vyasadevs never commit errors in their rhetorical arrangements. Unless one accepts this fact, there's no use in trying to obtain help from the revealed scriptures. In the Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami, in one place he explains that unless one accepts the Achintya Shakti, the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is impossible to understand his position. Similarly, when we try to understand the activities of a pure Vaishnava, like Srila Prabhupada, a liberated soul like Srila Prabhupada, a complete person who is always in touch with Krishna 24 hours a day, we should not find fault, even though we may not understand, even though it may not conform to our educational upbringing or woke training or whatever it may be. Acharyas are beyond the realm of conditioned souls, to whom it may concern. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Vishwakarma, any comments? Well, I can keep talking. There is another very important purport, also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, with the same verse. This is in Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 107. And Prabhupada in the purport mentions, the Vedic process is to hear from authority. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text number 2, the Lord says, Evam paramparapraptam imam raja rishayo viduhu. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. We have to hear not from a telephone, but from an authorized person, for it is he who has real knowledge. So again, the same point that Prabhupada is making. There's also another very important purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 3, text number 2. Canto 8, Chapter 3, text number 2. Prabhupada explains in the purport, the material body is meant for sense enjoyment, whereas the spiritual body engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee who engages in the service of the Supreme Lord and who constantly thinks of him should never be considered to have a material body. It is therefore enjoined, Gurushu Naramatihi. One should stop thinking of the spiritual master as an ordinary human being with a material body. Arche Vishnu Shiladihi. Everyone knows that the deity in the temple is made of stone, but to think that the deity is merely stone is an offense. Similarly, to think that the body of the spiritual master consists of material ingredients is offensive. Atheists think that devotees foolishly worship a stone statue as God and an ordinary man as the guru. Again, very, very important instruction from Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much for your wonderful explanation of the transcendental link between the disciple and the bona fide spiritual master. And Yashodanandana, it's interesting to note that Prabhupada was careful never to claim to be a pure devotee of Krishna in his books. And but he explained to us very clearly what the behavior of such a soul was. And it was back in the 70s when we were new to the mission, we understood that Prabhupada, even though he didn't claim to be a pure devotee, he was able to articulate the position of a pure devotee because he was a pure devotee. This is the understanding of the disciple, that the pure devotee, spiritual master, is not an ordinary person, but actually the transparent via media of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, completely surrendered to the service of his spiritual master and the mission of Lord Chaitanya in this particular situation. Yes. And because of that selfless surrender, as we are reading in the wonderful diaries of Srila Prabhupada, how much difficulty he undertook to bring this mission to the Western world. Now, someone may minimize that and say, well, it was just the journey of an old man. Well, it wasn't. It was a person that was carrying the torchlight of knowledge from Lord Chaitanya through the disciplic succession and his spiritual master to humanity at large, as we're reading. It's a very great thing, extremely. And we know that Prabhupada suffered multiple heart attacks on the journey. Did it discourage him? No. Did he decide to give it up? No. Was he worried about his health? No. It wasn't that he didn't take care of himself, but what can you do if you have a heart attack? Try to survive. That's what you do. Despite the difficulty, Prabhupada carried on. Despite being robbed multiple times in New York City of his, I even heard an interesting story that Keith Ham actually stole Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, the transcript, took it to the printer and tried to claim it was his. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And look at what Prabhupada had to deal with, surrounded by these third-class people, third-class human beings, thinking that they've become self-realized souls because of their association with Prabhupada. It's called a transcendental ripoff. You're pretending to take this position as Uttama Adhikari when in fact you're posing. You're not. And all of us know. None of us here, I know that for a fact, none of us in this group think, oh, I'm a Uttama Adhikari Diksha Guru. We're lucky if we can still maintain our position as servants of the servants of Lord Chaitanya. Because the more you're a servant, the greater you become. Krishna says in Nectar of Devotion, he who says he is my devotee is not my devotee, but he who is the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. And this is how you get the attention of Krishna. Prabhupada said in a very famous lecture, as you know, Yashodanandana Prabhu, do not try to see Krishna. This is the business of the Sahajiya. But act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. And in this way, you'll make advancement in spiritual life by the mercy of the Lord. And how do you act in such a way to attract the Krishna's glance? By pleasing his pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That's how you get Krishna's mercy. And in this way, you can make advancement in spiritual life by the mercy of Krishna. Actually, I wanted to mention this to all of you. It was interesting to note that when we prepared this campaign for the Srimad Bhagavatams that we're reprinting, the duplicate copies, and somehow or other we stumbled forward. Oh, thank you, Krishna Katha, for putting them up. Actually, they were our favorite books back in the early 70s, because not only were they only books that we had, per se. I mean, there was some kind of a Blue Gita back then, as you know, that short version. These books were just filled with transcendental enlightenment, and we could all feel that mercy coming from Srila Prabhupada in his books. Remember, he had written them pre-1966 when we were seeing this launching of the ISKCON movement. And for those that came late to the class, we did read to the introduction, in the introduction from the diaries, the purposes of the ISKCON movement to everyone for their information. So the point is this, that Prabhupada brought these wonderful books to America pre-ISKCON. So are they potent? Are they potent? Someone said, well, I'm not sure if they're authorized. Authorized? Prabhupada wrote them before he came to America. Sure, he wanted some editing to be done to fix the English and the spelling mistakes that are in the book. Actually, back then, when I used to look at the books, Yashoda, I used to like the mistakes. I liked them. It wasn't I disliked them. I thought, geez, this is wonderful. I was just a Bhakta Bob. I thought, this is authentic books. They're not authentic. Remember, back in 1971, Krishna Katha in Hamilton, there were no East Indian people. We used to walk around the streets. Have you ever seen we had never even seen an East Indian people. Now there's millions here, thanks to Trudeau. But nonetheless, back then, there wasn't even one Indian person. Maybe we can find an Indian person and he can explain the philosophy to us. We were very, very naive and inexperienced. But nonetheless, Prabhupada's books back then were authentic, so authentic and pure. And they gave immense insight into the gateway back home, back to Godhead, through the process of bhakti yoga and hearing from the lips of the pure devotee. So when I was writing up the presentation for our YouTube, not a GoFundMe campaign, it was somehow or other we stumbled. To be very frank, everyone, we just stumbled into this. Somehow or other, Krishna was, giving us this idea. So we don't want to claim any sort of credit for it. It's just sort of evolved from our group, really. And I was given the honor to write the sort of the pitch, the explanation of the GoFundMe campaign for other people to see. And when I was writing it, Yashoda, I was thinking, all of a sudden it dawned on me, because originally we were supposed to get money from someone, and I thought, well, we don't have to do anything. Someone's just going to give us this Lakshmi, and we'll go print these books, and we'll start distributing the books, and we'll get this movement going. But when I was writing the explanation of the program to everyone, for everyone's benefit, I thought, somehow or other, Krishna is watching me. Somehow or other, all of us, by participating in this, will attract the attention of Krishna. Do not try to see Krishna. Try to act in such a way that Krishna will see you. Is this important? Very important. Why? Because this is how we as devotees understand we will please Krishna, by reprinting the books that His Divine Grace brought in a few trunks from India on the Jaladuta for everyone's benefit. Yashodanandana Prabhu, if you could comment.
Basically, I think it's very important for devotees not to be misled by false speculation. There was a lecture one time where Prabhupada was giving an initiation, and he was explaining, the 4 regulative principles. And when it came to the principle of no gambling, Prabhupada says, and no mental speculation. Because what we see happening, and we've seen, and many people have experienced this, and I know one devotee on this call, Krishna Kata, knows this. He's been in Los Angeles. Puranjan knows this. He has vast experience with the history of many of these mental speculation, especially that took place in the first few years after Prabhupada departed. There was all these concoctions about all of a sudden 11 pure devotees mushroom out of an ivory tower at Mayapur, and the white smoke came out, and we have some freshly minted pure Paramahamsa pure devotees. It's like, okay, where is this from? But then what happened is, as devotees started to question and express some questions about what was going on after March of 1978, we could see there was a lot of speculation. I mean, all the way to people thinking, oh, so-and-so is an associate of Lord Chaitanya, so-and-so is a Paramahamsa. Okay, these are pious beliefs. It's nice. I'm not going to say that somebody may not be an associate of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada made many different statements. There's many different lectures where Prabhupada says anybody who is associated or affiliated this movement is a liberated soul and associated with Lord Chaitanya. But let's make a very clear understanding without speculation. Who is Srila Prabhupada? Who is that person? How can somebody, I know if some of you are in your 70s, you know how difficult it is to travel. You may have health issues or different things. How can somebody at the age of Srila Prabhupada, after 2 heart attacks on the boat, comes to America, no support, he's living in New York in 65, 66 in the winter, no financial help, and he never complained. He never basically started to complain to it. He just kept going. And the whole idea of reading these diaries is to get us to understand the mindset of a pure devotee. We don't need to speculate like some so-called biographers or pseudo-biographers. Incidentally, some devotee brought to my attention, there's no record anywhere of Srila Prabhupada ever telling a disciple, write a biography about me, especially my past. As a matter of fact, in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, there's a purport where Prabhupada said, there's no need to understand the past of a pure Vaishnava. So this, again, is the point about no speculation. To properly understand Prabhupada, we have to study his books without concoction, without fault finding, and go deep into all these topics. What is a liberated soul? What is a pure devotee? What is a Paramahamsa? What is a Mahabhagavat? What is an eternally liberated soul? What is the difference between a conditioned soul and liberated soul? And for those who think that they've become liberated souls by some so-called appointment or mystical white puff coming out of a political convention meeting, think again. Look at your behavior. Look how you treat the Vaishnavas. The banning, beating, suing, harassing devotees is not the symptom of a liberated soul. Let's leave it at that for now. Hare Krishna.
And it's interesting that you brought that up, and we'll move forward with our panel of devotees. But today I was reading from Planting the Seed, this so-called biography by Satrup. And as I was reading it, and it was pointed out to me very interestingly by one of our godbrothers that this was written before they discovered the diaries of Srila Prabhupada and published them. So I thought, so that's why there's a mistake or incorrect naming of people. For example, Paul Murray is not mentioned in the diaries, even though Prabhupada has mentioned him extensively in the in his diary. So it wasn't accurate. So Satrup just made it up. He was making it up. Now today I was reading in detail Yashoda Prabhu, Nandana Prabhu, about the early days on the Bowery or at 26 Second Avenue. I'm reading about all these so-called devotees. I'm wondering, who the heck are all these people? The names are all changed. So that's a real question mark. I know that you've written a commentary on it, but there is, with all these defects and all these so-called stories that this man who paints these weird pictures has concocted, the question is, why do they do this? And then change Prabhupada's books. Before they'll even change this biography and try to correct it, they'll go ahead and change Prabhupada's books because that needs to be corrected. This is a blatant offense. Hatimata, the mad elephant offense against the pure devotee. And yet they say there's credibility. Oh, yes. I sent Yashoda Nandana Prabhu recently. One of our godbrothers who we know is glorifying his godbrother Gopal Krishna in India. Gopal Krishna ruined the Canadian yatra very nicely. Thank you very much, Gopal. But there he's saying, oh, this, my godbrother, who is also my godbrother and a friend of mine, says, oh, no one will be able to surpass in 20 lifetimes, the service you've done. Huh? Excuse me? What kind of compromise are you in, my friend? You're compromised because of profit, adoration, and distinction, and that is the reality. It's a guru business. So we'll move forward here. I'm going to get Jonas Priya from Hawaii to make a few comments on today's program, and then Dharma Bhavana. Jonas Priya.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Aloha. Yes,
Aloha.
very interesting points here. How could these people that wrote these books, they claim in the book, and Prabhupada was feeling this or thinking that, how could they how could they do that? So we know that it's not 100% true, everything they say. Practically most of the stuff they say it's doesn't have much value to somebody that is really wants the nectar straight from Prabhupada without any improvements, without any nonsense. So we're so fortunate that we're gonna print these books, the original Delhi set, These books are as pure as they can be. There's no speculation. So we're very fortunate that we could contribute whatever, I'm sure whatever money anybody could contribute. The more that you give, the better. So Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Thank you. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Look at how nice that kurta is. Or that
Oh,
cheddar.
Krishna.
Hare
Yeah,
Bol.
Today's class was very fundamental and foundational. From my experience, devotees can be trained for years
Yes.
and still not have a really, really deep understanding of the things we talked about today. How a pure devotee can be maybe speaking in a second or third language, and their words are a little bit different and hard to understand with the accent. But the idea of presenting class today was that we're not supposed to see small details like that, but we're supposed to understand a perfect, fully self-realized pure devotee, that Krishna is speaking through them. It's not that they're speaking themselves or doing activities, but Krishna is arranging everything, so we have to see in that way. And I was going to ask a question about the like we was at the beginning of the class, the mission statement of the Constitution.
Yes.
But then I was thinking today's class was so important and beautiful, I better not ask on a different topic. So I was just thinking how for myself, when I read the Lilamrita the first time way back in maybe 1980, 83 or 84, I didn't see any fault in it, because I guess I was just in Maya or illusion. I was just so kind of caught up in doing my service and not being critical. I really didn't know. And then after many years went by, and other devotees started writing the commentaries on the Lilamrita, how improper it was to criticize Prabhupada and make him look like a homeless person. I began to understand, but it took a long time for me to catch on to these things. That's all. Thank you.
Tim Lee in California. Maybe you could give a few words of inspiration for us. Before we move forward, we're going to have Ron Singh speak. Tim Lee, are you there? The man behind the magic screen of art.
Hello, Haribo.
Haribo, brother.
Hi. So, yeah, I just posted a letter.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember the name of the devotee, but he gives a very detailed analysis of how the Lilamrita was all jerry-rigged up, and all the documents that were made supposedly for the Lilamrita were burned up in a fire. And he said some of the documents were saved because they were in a metal trunk, and he now has some of those documents. And he says they don't match up to what was posted in the so-called Lilamrita. But anyway, he's definitely makes the best analysis I've seen, really. It's very detailed how Sastrup just fudged up the Lilamrita, didn't use testimony, and didn't even interview the people that wouldn't fit the narrative that he was trying to create, and all kinds of things like that. But anyway, it's interesting. But I was just reading recently about Prahlad and
Oh, yes.
Kayad, and it's kind of interesting because Prahlad and Kayadu heard the same message. They heard the same pure message, but Prahlad superseded his mother's understanding. And Prabhupada explains why. Because Kayadu became overwhelmed with grief, and she became overwhelmed with concern about the welfare of her husband and the welfare of her son. And because of that, it clouded her understanding of all this stuff. And Prabhupada says she forgot a lot of what was said because she became concerned with so many other, incidences that were taking place in her, which was obviously a very disturbing situation. So you can understand that. But so I believe that's what's happened with a lot of devotees. People ask me that all the time. Well, how come you understood and they didn't understand, or this guy understood, but you, different people didn't understand. And I think that's the reason that people became overcome and overwhelmed, and there was a lot of grief and a lot of anxiety and a lot of chaos and all kinds of things. And they just forgot. They forgot. They heard the same thing I heard, that everybody else heard, but how did they drift off. And but it even happened, to Prahlad's mother. She drifted off, became concerned with other things and, other than Krishna. And then that's very fatal, for your spiritual understanding when you just become, and that's why in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it always says, be careful, don't be overwhelmed by the whirlpool of material situation, because it'll just suck you in and suck you down and you'll be gone. It's just like that. Yeah, that's how a whirlpool is. You get sucked into a whirlpool, you're down the drain, So very quickly you can lose your vision of Krishna. Anyway, so I've been kind of meditating on that, and I think it's very important for us to think about that. Why did we understand things and other people didn't? And it's not even their fault necessarily. It's just the material energy will drag you very quickly unless you're very, very determined. So it's a lesson for all of us. We have to become very determined ourselves, or we'll lose, the vision of the whole thing. But so anyway, I'm trying to do another little thing here. I want to show you guys real quick. You see this. That's a new one. Little Radha and Krishna thing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you, Barbara. So that's my meditation. Some people like my stuff and some don't. And you got to meditate on Krishna if you can, because we don't have much time. And I also was just thinking about the poison issue as well, and I made some comments about that. When I got the tape, I was listening to the tape, I was walking around the Santa Monica Mall for weeks listening to that tape. And I was thinking, oh my God, if I bring this tape out, it's going to reshape the whole history of ISKCON and Vaishnavism and the world. What should I do? I mean, and it'll be like a genie getting out of the bottle. I won't be able to put it back. If I release this, it's going to be like all over the place, very, very powerfully. So I just meditated, and I realized, you know what? I could fall asleep myself and not wake up any day now. I got to get this out because it's I won't be here myself. What happens if no one else brings it out? I don't bring it out, it won't be brought out. So it's just a very important part of our history. And but also listening to that tape over and over just totally convinced me what happened. But I played that tape to a Bridge Basi when I was in LA. As soon as I played it, like for 30 seconds, he just immediately burst into tears. He just, and that was one of the things that just convinced me. Yeah, because he was a very close friend of Prabhupada. So, but anyway, so that's kind of what happened with that as well. It just it took a lot of meditation for me to wonder, what should I do? But I think Krishna wanted it to come out, because that was another thing. How did I even get this tape? I mean, Krishna wanted this tape to get into my hands. And I started praying in 1990 to get that tape. I said, if that tape exists, I want Krishna, if that tape exists, you can't, I just want one thing from you only in my life, get that tape in my hands. So it's just one of those things that I think Krishna arranged it to get it into my hands. I had it translated by a Bengali man, and then it came out, and I think it had to come out, and I think Krishna wanted it to come out. Haribol.
Man proposes, God disposes.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
somehow or other, the truth is coming out. And I did want to mention that our friend Naveen Krishna Prabhu, who is also supporting our Srimad Bhagavatam reprint of the Delhi editions has been a key person in presenting this information to people regarding Srila Prabhupada's poisoning. And they are preparing all kinds of documents to support that case against the ISKCON group. And we wish them all the best. And we do thank him for his participation in being part of our fundraising program to reach our goal of $24,000. We're not very far along on it, considering how many people exist on the planet. But I was hoping, we're moving to the end of the class and discussion. Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu, could you please bring up the link for the GoFundMe, and we'll just go over it quickly, just so everybody gets an opportunity, if you've missed it, to see it and share it with other people. So here it is. We've got the, oh, well, look at here. We've got $3,876 raised so far for $24,000 goal. So it's quite a ways to go. And let's go down. Ronald Singh is organizing the fundraiser to benefit Hare Krishna Society. And let's read GoFundMe drive. This GoFundMe drive to raise donations for the printing of the original 1962, 64, 65 Srimad Bhagavatams by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The treasured editions are the original books written, published, and distributed by His Divine Grace prior to his coming to America. These are the exact replicas of the books he brought with him in trunks aboard the steamship Jaladuta from Calcutta and arriving in New York on September 19th, 1965. These reprints of the original versions of his Srimad Bhagavatam provide comprehensive insight into the ancient mysteries of spiritual life from the pen of the pure devotee of Krishna, produced by him under the order of his spiritual master, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Prabhupada, not certain of how much time he had left on this earthly plane, told us these initial 3 volumes of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam contained all the knowledge necessary for a conditioned soul to awaken his dormant Krishna consciousness, to go back home, back to Godhead, even in this one lifetime. Please generously support this fundraising campaign, our efforts to reprint these most important books for the benefit of people now and future generations, along with the printing of the original Delhi first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. We also want to print the original 1969 Sri Upanishad and the original 1959 version of Easy Journey to Other Planets. The reprinting of the unedited, unadulterated books to protect the written legacy of Srila Prabhupada is the most important service one can render in the service of God, Krishna, and humanity at large. The total cost for this project is as follows. First canto, there's 3 volumes in the set, 2,000 sets, $18,000. Sri Upanishad 69 and 59, 2,000 copies of each, that's $3,500, and the shipping will be $2,500. So that's how we came up with the number. And we want to thank you for your gracious and most appreciated contribution to this very important mission that all of us here in our group, and we're promoting it also into the Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook group. We have 17,300 members now and expanding very rapidly by the week. So we hope to be at 20,000 in 2 months. We've undertaken to protect the legacy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. I wanted to get Ron Singh to, maybe he could highlight, if you could bring the that donation GoFundMe page up again, Vinkat Bhatta. Ron Singh is going to just make some comments on it. Thank you. Go ahead, Ron Singh, please. Could you
Okay,
maybe
first of all,
read out the donators?
yes. So first of all, we'd like to thank all the donations that are coming from the devotees worldwide. These are our friends, well-wishers, and the devotees who are watching our program. We'd also like to say that if anyone has benefited from this program, to kindly donate. We have a lot of devotees in the worldwide Krishna consciousness movement. So we'll just go over the names. This donation of $100 by this devotee here is one of our friends. She watches our program. Abhay, Vishwakarma's son. Vishwakarma's donation, 750. Abhay's 108. And Shamashundar, 108. Adina Wilson, $251. And Anonymous, $108. Yasmin Prabhu is $1,000. This anonymous donation is me, $1,000. And another anonymous, $200. So anyone who donates to this GoFundMe campaign, will send them a Srimad Bhagavatam set of the 3 volumes once we get it. So we're trying to get this fundraising complete as soon as possible, preferably before the summer is over, and the books in our hands before the summer is over. So please kindly contribute graciously. This is Srila Prabhupada's original works, and this can be accomplished in the next few days. People share these links with their family members, well-wishers. So once again, thank you very much to all the devotees for donating, and we're looking forward for your donations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Krishna Kata, maybe you could say a few words on this program and your understanding of what we're doing for everyone's benefit.
Comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
You
Your
can hear me now?
microphone. Yeah.
Okay. Today's class and everyone's comments are just so superb in every way. I am always in rapt attention, with straight back in lotus position, as Prabhupada would say, sit properly. So I can attest that I'm in possession of the books that you will all receive for your generous donation. And it doesn't mean that we're just going to send one 3-volume set to you. If you request many, many sets, we will send you as many as you'd like, so that you may also participate in phase 2, which is as dear to Srila Prabhupada, and that is the distribution of his original Delhi versions. And keep in mind that I know we've been saying this in different ways, but when you read from these books, as we do on, I believe it's Sunday, is the Bhagavatam class, this is everyone's unique opportunity to absorb direct realizations from Srila Prabhupada's duty and dedication to his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that is our cherished opportunity, because just as he is fulfilling his spiritual master's instructions, that whenever you get money, print books. This is the most pleasing activity to Srila Prabhupada. Brihat Mridanga, as Yashoda pointed out very nicely, right? These books can be heard all around the world. And every devotee, aspiring devotee, should have this in their library. Every devotee should have this in their library, because the story that you can tell everyone that sees your library, like, what are these books? And then you can tell the story. And this pastime is the ultimate way to describe Srila Prabhupada's surrender to his spiritual master, is that here's the books he brought with him on the steamship with the heart attacks and the difficulties in New York, and how he placed them with Sally Argawal in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then from there, she would ship to different locations accordingly. And in his diary, he's keeping note of which books are coming back and which books are going out. Here they are. You have to get a hold of this set. It is the rarest set of books in our universe. No argument. So you've heard it all. Ron Singh made a very good point that if you donate, we're gonna ship. Now, do we have integrity? Absolutely. This is a fully surrendered grouping of devotees that are dedicated to getting these books in pristine condition to your doorstep. We come back from a very professional way of saying it, but there's no doubt. You donate, you will receive these books. You have our word. And what can I say? I'm excited. I can't wait to start distributing them.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for participating today in our program. And we look forward to seeing you on Saturday and Sunday for Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Sunday with the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading from the original Delhi Bhagavatams that Prabhupada brought on the boat to America in 1965. Thank you again. All glories to the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. All glories to the mission of the Prabhupada Disciples Association.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha
Evacha.
patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo
Namo
namaha.
namaha.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thanks everybody for participating. We will see you all on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Everybody, Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and his pure devotees. Hare Krishna.
Vandeham
Hare Krishna.
Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya